Good afternoon, book lovers of the internet. I am Book Nerd 0802, and in this video, I am going to be reviewing a book by Roberta Bajada called Shadow Woods. Now, this one is written in Maltese, however, I reviewed it in both English and in Maltese, and I will be making another video where I will be speaking about this book in Maltese. I decided to upload the English version first because that is what I predominantly speak in on my channel. But for those of you who wish to listen to the review in Maltese, there will be another video uploaded very shortly after this one. There will be some differences between the English review and the Maltese one, but quite minor ones, so I don't think it would really have an impact overall. So I rated this one 3.5 out of 5 stars, and this one consists of 216 pages, and its target audience consists of young adults mainly, although I would say that all readers could find enjoyment through reading this book. I enjoyed it myself for several reasons. However, what I thought was most interesting was how it's set in America, and American culture does play a significant role in it too. And I honestly wasn't expecting to find a book written in Maltese set in America. It is one of the very first times that I came across a book with such a setting. I will be mentioning details in this review which might not crop up in the Maltese one as I mentioned, and vice versa as well. So if you are bilingual and you can understand both English and Maltese, then you will be able to enjoy both videos and listen to all of my thoughts about this book. Basically, this text consists of action, adventure, and fantasy, and it's rather fast-paced. Even though the chapters are quite long, it only has 14 chapters spread across 216 pages, but it is very fast-paced. I will be speaking about this in further depth later. So the story focuses on Daniel's life, who is the protagonist, the main character, and it contrasts his present with the person he was 30 years priorly, so with his past. Daniel decides to visit his uncle in America with his family, and once he's there, he begins to dwell on his past and why he'd decided to leave to begin with, and it all starts to unravel from there. All his memories return, and he starts to understand precisely what was going on 30 years later. So Shadow Woods is a theme park prone to several accidents, and by the end of the story, light is shed on the reason why. There might be some spoilers, so beware of those as well, but I will not give too much away because I feel as though the suspense is written brilliantly, and I wouldn't want to ruin that experience for you. But I could quite easily say that the suspense that the author managed to build throughout the chapters reminded me of how I felt when I was reading books, as are those of Five Nights at Freddy's, for instance, or the third journal from Gravity Falls, or perhaps even the Spiderwick Chronicles. I reviewed all of those on my channel, by the way. Feel free to look the videos up and let me know what you think of them too. Daniel is referred to as a miracle child because he fell from several stories up and was almost paralyzed. He, I believe, was on one of the attractions and he fell off. He thankfully recovered after spending some time in a coma, not of his own volition, of course, and tells us all he experienced whilst he was knocked out. I believe it lasted about 2 weeks, a couple of weeks at most. Um, I must admit that Daniel does come across as an unreliable narrator, and it would make sense for him not to be able to distinguish what he hallucinated during his coma and what happened a few days before. And to add on to this as well, several decades have also passed, and memory suffers tremendously over time. So even though Daniel might come across as an unreliable narrator, it is written in the first person after all, I don't blame him at all. I feel as though the fact that some details might be askew can't be blamed on him, and in that sense, it is very realistic. I feel as though Daniel comes across as quite a realistic character, and apparently he's always been an imaginative one as well. So that also adds on to the unreliability point. I found this to be quite a breath of fresh air since I haven't read several books in Maltese set in another part of the world. And whilst I love Maltese culture and when books are written about it, or when books in Maltese are set in Malta, I do enjoy when they are set in another place, not necessarily the world, but somewhere other than Malta itself. So the constant alternation between present and past to consistently reveal new information about the main character was done brilliantly and certainly built up a lot of suspense. This was one of the ways in which suspense was built up. I haven't come across several instances of the supernatural when reading texts in Maltese either, and this one focused on such a theme through inference rather than via telling the reader in a straightforward manner. In fact, because of this, until the very end, I was rather confused with regard to what Daniel was after, really. And in fact, there is a character who is introduced rather quickly. The conclusion felt rushed. As a matter of fact, his name is Bill, and this is the part where the big spoiler comes across, so please click ahead. And yeah, as it turns out, this character, Bill, is a murderer who suffers from having no riz whatsoever, which is why he's a murderer. He's rather depressed, he can't get any girls at all, and he's unfortunate looking, without any motivation to change himself, as it turns out, and it must be said that most of the story would have been much shorter hadn't Daniel's camera belonging to his father been taken from him. I mean, Daniel is a victim of bullying, which is also a theme which I think is rather important in this text, and it is also understandable because bullying was also rather frequent approximately 30, 40 years ago, I would say, and not much was done to mitigate it. I really enjoyed all the references to pop culture, even though many of them I haven't yet acclimatized myself with, so there were some references which I didn't understand, but I still appreciated the effort put um, in order to engage either people who lived in the 80s or the 70s or maybe the 90s as well, but also a younger audience who might wish to discover other texts which are also fantastic and very easy to immerse oneself in. So that is all I had to say in this English review of Shadow Woods by Roberta Bajada. Um, if you do not understand Maltese, that's absolutely fine. In my review in Maltese, I will be basically saying the same thing, but I will um, add some details which I didn't in my English review, so not necessarily too important, just a couple of sentences here and there. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Take a look at the rest of my content because why not? It's absolutely amazing. And I will see you in the next one, hopefully very, very soon. Bye, guys.